Howdy folks, I was in Japan recently on a little trip, still a little jet lagged, but I was able to find a couple of rums from Okinawa. We're gonna check them out, see what we think. Well, let's go. Now, you might think that Japanese rum would be very easy to find in Japan, but I didn't see a huge rum selection in the bars we went to, and I had to go seek out liquor stores to try and find some Japanese rum, and it wasn't as easy as you might think, at least in the Tokyo and Osaka neighborhoods that we visited. There were a number of like Japanese whiskey stores that only sold whiskey. They had a lot of like vintage hibikis and a lot of Yamazaki. We did see a bottle of whiskey that was 1,600,000 yen, which is like $10,000. A little too expensive for my tastes. The rums that I found were actually quite inexpensive. This first one that I found is called the Makugan, and it was only 2,000 yen. That's like 12 bucks. Much more in my price range. Now, the Makugan is a rum that comes from the Taragawa distillery, which is on the island of Miyakojima. Miyakojima is an island that is to the south and west of the main island of Okinawa. It's actually closer to Taiwan than it is to the mainland of Japan, but it is part of Okinawa and part of Japan. Now, the Taragawa distillery mainly makes awamori. Awamori is similar to sochu, but it can only be made in Okinawa, and it can only be made from rice. Sochu you can make from barley and sweet potato and other things as well. Awamori is kind of declining in popularity, it would seem, and so a number of distilleries down there are switching over to rum because they're trying to, make some money. And Okinawa grows a lot of sugarcane, so that makes a lot of sense. We actually tried some awamori on our trip, and it was very sochu-like. Delicious. Now, one thing to note is the islands down there are formed from coral reefs, and so they're made up of a lot of, porous limestone, and the water that gets filtered through that limestone is very hard and has a lot of minerals in it, and so you can expect the awamori and the rum to be a little bit more minerally. Also, the variety of sugarcane that grows there is a different variety, as you might imagine, and apparently it's got less sugar in it, it's less sweet. This is according to a bartender that we were talking to in Tokyo. More on him later. Now, if you go to the Taragawa website and translate it, because it's written in Japanese, it seems this is a molasses rum, that there is a sugar factory not far from the distillery, and they get the molasses from them and make the rum. Now, this is 40% alcohol, and I believe it's made in a pot still. It doesn't say so on the bottle, but awamori and sochu are all made in pot still, so I'm assuming it's a pot still. One last point of interest, Makugan apparently is the Okinawan dialect name for the giant coconut crab. The coconut crab is this giant 3-foot crab that eats coconuts. It's horrifying, and apparently it's also endangered, so they named the rum after the crab to try and spread some awareness that this horrifying creature is endangered. Now, let's give it a taste. On the nose, it's got sort of an acetone kind of a flavor right away, but also a lot of sort of rotten fruits. It's got a bit of a savory smell, a little bit mineral. I don't know if it's just the power of suggestion, but it does kind of smell a little bit like sochu. Let's give it a taste. It starts off kind of round. It's got kind of a hot finish. I'm not sure if this is really a sipper. Might be more of a cocktail ingredient because that burn is real. But you get more of those sort of funky fruit flavors. A little not as minerally on the palate. Like, for example, the Core was a lot more savory than this. This is sort of a fairly clean white rum. A little bit of a lingering fruit flavor. Maybe pear. I think it says pear in the tasting notes on the website. I was trying to see if I could taste some pear, but maybe a little. A little sweet up front, a little bit hot in the middle, kind of a dry mineral finish. Maybe not a great sipper, but should make an okay cocktail. In fact, I was thinking it would probably make an okay daiquiri, but I think I might try and make a tea punch with it. Hey, you know, a tea punch is really delicious, especially I put a little pineapple syrup that I had lying around. That's not bad. Okay, rum number 2 is called One Rum. It is a product of the Mizuho distillery, which is also in Okinawa, and it is also primarily an Awamori distillery. They have made what they're calling a single island series of rums using what's called kokuto from 8 different Okinawan islands. Kokuto is basically raw cane sugar. I think what they do is boil down the sugar cane into a sort of a syrup, and then they dry it out, and you get these sort of dark brown squares that people just eat like candy. Taking kokuto from 8 different islands, fermenting that, and turning it into rum in their pot still. Now, I wasn't able to get any of the individual island rums, but what I have here is a blend of all 8 islands. Now, I did see this rum in a couple of different bars in Tokyo. Speaking of bars in Tokyo, quick sidebar, the architecture in Tokyo and Osaka, it seems to be like small buildings with a small footprint that are pretty tall, and then there'll be businesses on like every floor. Here in America, you'll mostly have businesses on the bottom floor and like residential above. But there, it's like businesses all the way up, but they'll be very small. There'll be these bars that are like on the 5th or 8th floor, and you take an elevator, and then you have to walk through like a half door. They had all these very short doors. I don't know why. Then you'd go into these bars that could seat maybe 6 or 8 people, and that was sort of the norm. There'd be all these little tiny bars in like either basements or like little tiny nooks and crannies. It was pretty cool, actually. I saw this rum in a couple of bars, but otherwise the rum selection there wasn't amazing. They were way more into the whiskey. Anyway, I did manage to track down this bottle in a liquor store. It cost 3,300 yen, which is about $21. Again, super cheap. All right, let's try this One Rum 8 Island blend. It is also 40% alcohol, by the way. Now, on the nose, it's got it smells a lot like sake, actually. And I don't think that that's just the power of suggestion. I think it actually does smell like sake. It's also got a sort of a lime smell to it, and also like a little bit of like that mineralness. It kind of smells like a little bit like a flat Sprite. Like maybe you drank a bottle of Sprite, and if you smelled the bottle afterwards, it kind of smells like that. It smells pretty good, actually. Let's give it a taste. Almost tastes like a very powerful sochu almost, but you get a lot more of that lime. It's a lot less hot than the Makugan. Pretty smooth, actually. You know, a little less of the rotten fruit and more of like a ripe mango fruit. Pretty good. I don't know if I'll sip this one a ton either, but I think it also would do pretty well in a cocktail. Speaking of cocktails, I was talking to this bartender that I mentioned earlier in this bar in Tokyo called The Trench. Kind of a strange name for a bar. We saw a lot of businesses with sort of odd names. There were a lot of beauty parlors that had weird names. One was called Log, one was called Lamp, and we saw another beauty parlor called Slug Plus. Anyway, this bartender at Trench, I saw that they had this rum, and so I asked him to make me a drink with it, because I'm the annoying bar customer who asks to make something that's not on the menu. But they weren't very busy. I didn't feel bad about it, and he came and talked to me about it after. He was very nice. Anyway, I don't know if this drink has a name or not, but it was this rum, lemon, simple syrup, and yellow chartreuse, and it was pretty good. I thought I might try and recreate that myself here at the house. This is lovely. It's bright. Lemon and yellow chartreuse go great together. And you get that sochu-like rum flavor sort of at the end as a lingering aftertaste. Refreshing, delicious. Good job, guy bartender in Tokyo whose name I didn't get. You did a great job. Anyway, hopefully that was entertaining and or informative. I have a lot more rums I want to try for you guys, so I'm probably going to increase the number of rum talks in the coming months. Hopefully the algorithm doesn't kill me, but I'm just going to do what I want because it's my channel and there's no rules. All right. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.